You know, they say the worst wounds are the ones you never see coming. The kind that don't come from a stranger or an enemy, but from the person who once swore they'd never hurt you. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday. It was raining, just like it is now. I was sitting in my car, right outside our favorite little Italian place, watching through the window as my entire world dismantled itself piece by piece. There she was, Sarah. My Sarah. The woman I'd planned a future with. And she was leaning across a small candlelit table, her hand covering the hand of my best friend, Mark. It wasn't a casual touch. It was an intimate, familiar grasp. The kind that spoke of secrets and stolen hours. I felt the air leave my lungs, a cold numbness spreading from my chest out to my fingertips. I just sat there, the engine cooling, the rain blurring the scene into a miserable impressionist painting of my own betrayal. I didn't confront them. What was there to say? Instead, I drove home, the silence in the car louder than any scream. When she came home an hour later, her cheeks were flushed, and she smelled of red wine and a cologne I'd bought for Mark on his last birthday. She had a smile on her face, a careless, happy little smile that shattered what was left of my heart. I asked her, my voice dangerously quiet, how her night was. She said she'd been working late. I told her I knew that was a lie. I told her I'd seen her. At the restaurant. With him. And that's when it happened. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry or apologize or look ashamed. She looked at me, a slow, pitying smirk spreading across her lips. And then she laughed. It wasn't a loud, hysterical laugh. It was a soft, condescending chuckle that stripped me of any dignity I had left. "Oh, Alex," she said, shaking her head as if I were a foolish child. "What were you going to do? Propose? Build a life? Come on. We both know you were never enough for me. Mark has ambition. He has a future. You're just comfortable." Each word was a precise, surgical cut. Never enough. Just comfortable. That laugh echoed in the silence that followed, a sound more cruel and cutting than any insult. She packed a bag, still with that infuriating smirk, and told me she'd be back on the weekend to get the rest of her things. The door clicked shut, and I was alone in the apartment that still smelled of her perfume. The numbness began to recede, and in its place, a cold, hard, and terrifyingly clear resolve began to form. She thought this was over. She thought I was defeated. But she was wrong. She had laughed in my face, so I was going to make sure she never forgot the cost of that laughter. I wasn't going to yell, or fight, or beg. I was going to be an architect, and her regret was going to be my masterpiece. The first thing I did was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I didn't call. I didn't text. I became a ghost. I knew, through mutual friends, that she and Mark were flaunting their new relationship, expecting some kind of dramatic reaction from me. They were waiting for the angry texts, the pleading voicemails, the public meltdown. They got nothing but silence. It confused them. I could feel their confusion from a distance. It was the first brick in my foundation. Then, I got to work. You see, for the last 3 years, aside from my day job, I'd been building something in the shadows. A side business, a niche e-commerce store selling specialized outdoor gear. It was my passion project, something Sarah had always dismissed as a cute hobby. She never asked about the spreadsheets, the supplier contracts, the late nights coding the website. She had no idea that over the past year, that cute hobby had begun to generate more revenue than my salary. And I had been patient. I'd funneled every dollar back into the business, living frugally, waiting for the right moment. That moment was now. I liquidated everything. I took the entire savings from the business, a sum that would make anyone's head spin, and I went to the one person who I knew could execute a vision with flawless, brutal efficiency. A luxury real estate developer named Mr. Thorne, a man with a reputation for cold, hard business and no tolerance for sentiment. I proposed a deal. There was a piece of land, a beautiful, wooded plot on the edge of the lake where Sarah and I had our first date. She'd always talked about building her dream house there one day. It was her favorite place in the world. I knew the owner was looking to sell. I went to Mr. Thorne with a simple, anonymous proposal. I would provide the full capital for the purchase and construction, far above market value, on one condition. The house that was built would be a modern architectural marvel, a stark, brutalist masterpiece of glass and steel. It would be everything Sarah hated. And it would be built directly on the ashes of her dream. Thorne, a man who appreciated both money and poetic justice, agreed without a second's hesitation. The deal was done in cash, through shell companies and layers of legal paperwork. It was utterly untraceable to me. Within a month, the land was gone. Within 2, the foundations were being poured. I would sometimes drive out there at night, watching the skeletal structure rise against the night sky, a monument to my quiet, calculated revenge. Months drifted by. My business, now fully publicized thanks to a strategic marketing campaign I launched, was the talk of the local tech scene. I was suddenly Alex, the visionary entrepreneur. The quiet, comfortable man was now being featured in business magazines. I knew she was seeing it. The silence from my end was finally starting to make sense to her, and it was eating her alive. Then, the invitation came. A charity gala. The kind of event Sarah lived for, a chance to dress up and be seen. I knew she'd be there with Mark. I bought the most expensive suit I'd ever owned. I arrived alone, calm, and composed. The room was a whirl of chatter and clinking glasses. And then I saw them. They were standing near the bar, and for a fleeting second, our eyes met across the room. Sarah's smile faltered. Mark looked away, uncomfortable. I simply gave a small, polite, utterly indifferent nod and turned to speak with Mr. Thorne, who was, as planned, waiting for me. We made a show of it. A very public, very noticeable conversation. I saw Sarah's eyes, wide with confusion, darting between me and the powerful, notoriously reclusive developer. The curiosity was killing her. Later, as I was getting a drink, she approached me. Her voice was hesitant, almost shy. "Alex? You look, well." I turned, my expression neutral, as if I'd just noticed a mildly interesting painting on the wall. "Sarah." "Hello." There was an awkward pause. I saw you talking with Julian Thorne. I didn't know you knew him." "Business," I said, my tone flat, offering nothing. She took a breath, gathering her courage. "It's funny you should mention business. I heard about your company." "Congratulations." And speaking of Thorne," she continued, a nervous laugh escaping her, "it's the strangest thing. You remember that lake property? The one I loved? He bought it. He's building some monstrous modern thing on it. It's just awful. It's completely ruined the spot." I took a slow sip of my whiskey, letting the silence stretch, letting her squirm. I looked her directly in the eyes, my gaze utterly calm. And I said the only 5 words I had been waiting 10 months to say. "I know," I said, my voice barely a whisper, yet it cut through the din of the gala like a shard of ice. "It was me." Her face went blank, then slowly crumpled in a dawning, horrific understanding. The laughter, the insults, the betrayal, it all came rushing back to her in that single, devastating moment. She saw the entire, intricate web I had woven. The silence, the success, the destruction of her dream, it was all connected. It was all me. I hadn't just moved on, I had orchestrated her humiliation on a scale she could never have imagined. I had taken the one place she cherished and turned it into a permanent, physical reminder of her catastrophic error in judgment. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. There were no words left for her. I didn't wait for a response. I simply turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, small and shattered in the middle of the glittering crowd. There was no anger left in me, no satisfaction either. Just a quiet, profound emptiness. The score was settled. The masterpiece was complete. And as I stepped out into the cool night air, I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that she would never, ever forget it.